from, and which part of the world you are logging in from. My name is Vijay, and some of you might be already, you might have worked with me, and some of you might know the work which I do. So, this new year, I was thinking, a lot of people ask me that, Vijay, why don't you conduct some sessions that, so that we all can get value out of it. So, coaching obviously becomes very expensive for a lot of people. They are not able to afford. So, I thought coaching is my passion, something I like adding value to people. So I thought, why don't I create some small modules which, if applied effectively, can help anybody. It can help you if you're a professional looking to grow in your career. It can help you in your personal life. It can help you in your parenting, because wherever there are people, there are certain principles that if you do not apply, it will not work. So if you're online, why don't you say the comments? I will not be able to see the comments when you go through. So if you're online right now, type on the comment section. Because there are a couple of streams which have been loaded, probably some in YouTube, some in LinkedIn. So wherever you are, if you can put in the comment section, probably after the session, I may reply the comments, and some of you will be seeing it after the live stream. So we will, and whatever questions you have in the end, I will take some question answer session also. And if later on you are watching it after the live session, you can add comments, and in the comment section, I will try to answer it. In next 24 hours, I will definitely answer all the questions which you guys have. So let's start with the story. I was recently working with a director in a company, and they had a new hire in their company. And luckily, I knew both of them. I knew the new hire as well, and as well as the director. And he had a question. You know what? The time we hired this gentleman, the behavior which you are expecting and what the behavior which you're finding right now are not matching. Where are we going wrong? That was the question he asked me, and I said, explain me what happened. He said, look, he was a very passionate person when we hired. First 1 or 2 months, he was really putting a lot of energy in his work, and then all of a sudden, in last few weeks, we are observing he is not that passionate about his work. He is not putting that much of energy. I said, okay, tell me more. So he started explaining and said, tell me what exactly happened. I mean, when he started, what happened? Then in 1 month, why the performance started falling? Was there something which happened in between? He said, not much. I mean, he was doing some things in the ramp up side. I remember I gave him some feedback. The moment he said I gave him some feedback, I said, okay, tell me more. How was the feedback? What did you do? And what exactly happened? When I started hearing the entire story of this director, I realized, knowingly or unknowingly, the way he was communicating, it was coming out as criticism. It was coming out as he's trying to blame somebody. Now, this is a very critical topic, because when we communicate, we many times do not realize what is criticism, what is blaming, and what will some in the direction where it can take away energy. And once you're not aware, it's a blind spot. So what happened? Suddenly, the same employee, which was passionate about his or her job, now all of a sudden he lose the energy. Why? Because he found that he is not getting that support. So then I thought, okay, let me create some small module. I mean, in the coaching we go into a lot of detail, but at least I will give you some small module today. And if you, I also created a PPT out of it. I can send you the PPT, provided you do one thing. I want to help as many people as I can. So for that, I need your help. What you do is you share it in your timeline. If you're on LinkedIn right now, you share it in your timeline, and whoever has reposted this in their timeline, I'll send you the person PPT. After resharing, you can send me a DM in LinkedIn that I want the PPT. So if you're reshared and you send me the message, I will send you the PPT after the session. All right. So let's tie up. But before that, I will ask you a couple of questions. In the last 1 week, have you given feedback to anybody? Think upon it. And after giving the feedback, how was the reaction? Was it, was the person becoming defensive? He was getting angry, or was he cooperative? Think upon it. I think in 1 week you definitely would have given feedback to somebody, your parent. If you're a parent, you've given to your kids. If you're working at senior level with a lot of people, you might have given to your team member. And what was the reaction? I'm sure it may not be that good until you're trained in this area. See, if you're a trained professional, you have gone through some coaching, you have read some books, you have attended few things so that you understand this principle. If you're a seasoned manager who knows how to deal it, then probably you might have done a good job. But in my experience, a lot of people lack these simple things. Remember, in today's world, knowledge is not the problem. We have knowledge on the tip. You just type anything, Google is there, ChatGPT is there, so knowledge is not a problem. They're saying, if whatever we know we could apply, we all would be wealthy, we all would be healthy, and we all would have great relationship. Why? We all know what is the secret of great relationship. If I ask you, tell me 5 points which can make you, have great relationship with people, I'm sure you can give me 5, 10 points. But when I say, are you applying it? Answer will come no. Do I apply everything? To be honest, no. Many times I also forget. But when I keep teaching these lessons to my clients, it keeps on reminding me. It keeps me back on the track. So this important point to understand is knowledge is not the problem, and that's where coaching comes into picture. Because when you coach somebody, there's accountability involved, and there's a feedback loop involved, and the whole discussion and the dialogue happens. Once this happens, automatically things start falling in place. So once you give feedback, what happens is typically, if you do not know how to give feedback properly, you will end up losing and sapping energy of people. So I'll take you through PPT, couple of slides I've created. So let me share with them to all of you. And we'll be having another exactly 15 minutes. And after that, I can take 10 minutes of question answer session and we'll start from there. All right. So stay tuned. And meanwhile, I'm not able to see the comments. It seems a tool. So if you have, you can share your name, which city you're logging in from. I'll see all the comments after the session is over. All right. So let's start. Let's start from here. So let me see the screen and all perfectly. It's going good. All right. So first thing first, I'll tell you, think like this. So I was talking about, right, how many times you criticize this week? I'm sure you'll say one time, two time, three time. You did not criticize the intention of criticizing. Remember this. Nobody criticized the intention of criticizing. It's nobody. I mean, if I ask somebody, nobody will say I was criticizing for the intent. So it was not the intention problem. Problem was our communication style was wrong. So we ended up criticizing somebody. And the moment you criticize, what happens? The reality is this: the moment you criticize, it creates disappointment. The other person, you don't get the outcome you wanted. What is the purpose of criticism? Was it taking out frustration? For some time, yes, but actually, what you wanted that after giving my feedback, there has to be a change in people. But what did you saw after that? What you saw is, rather than changing, the person became defensive, he became aggressive, his moral fall down. Correct or not? So what do you do now? You are in a dilemma. If you don't give feedback, things will not change. If you give feedback, this is a problem. So now what do you do? So many times, when you are not trained in this area, you give up, you suffocate. And as a manager, what happens? Your productivity in the team fall down. And many times you will end up doing other people's work because why? You do not know how to bring out the best in them. So what do you do now? In this case, the solution is first, by understanding this human tendency, we can replace criticism with empathy. Empathy is a subject. In my coaching, we take 2 or 3 sessions to get into detail because a lot of people misunderstand empathy. It's a topic in itself, huge topic, but let me give a couple of examples of it. Empathy is not sympathy. What is the difference between this? Let's say somebody is sharing a sad story of their life. What is sympathy? You start getting frustrated with them. You start supporting them. That is empathy part. Sympathy part. What is empathy? Empathy is like watching a movie. When you watch a movie, you just see the scene as it is. If there is a deep drama, deep emotions, you're part of that scene, isn't it? You're not judging at that time. You don't have time because you're just seeing it. When you're completely seeing the whole scenario, you are not judging, you are not saying anything, you are just absorbing the scene. And when you're absorbing the whole scene, you're trying to understand the scenario. And that's a deep empathy comes when you start seeing the world from the story of the other persons. That is empathy. Empathy is also not agreeing. Understand this. And because of this, a lot of people don't understand the difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathy is very simple. Listen to the other person's story, the way it is, the way he or she is narrating, no judgment, nothing, just listening. Just listening to try to understand the whole emotion, try to feeling the pain of the other person. Trust on me, it is very difficult. Not easy at all. It is only possible, it's a big topic when you are secure yourself. So, but anyway, it's a topic again, we'll keep in one of the live sessions, this topic also. So if you know how to empathize with people, then probably you can actually give feedback to people properly. That's the most important thing. So this is the solution part. Then what happened? What are the key points? So I'll cover 4 key points today to understand this whole concept. Number one, criticism. The moment you criticize somebody, it will immediately trigger the defensiveness of people. You'll see people become defensive. It's like, think like this: somebody come and slap you, what to do? You'll try to protect yourself, isn't it? That exact thing happens the moment you criticize. Even if there's a fault of the other person, the moment you criticize, the defensive window opens up. It's a protective window. They're trying to protect themselves. Emotionally, they're trying to protect themselves. It's a human nature. Because of this human nature, criticism doesn't work. They will immediately become defensive, and this, they'll have resentment. That's the first point. So we'll cover criticism will trigger defensiveness, and we'll give you. I have prepared this point in such a way that I'll give you one example also, so that you can understand this point. Point number two: people will justify their action instead of blaming themselves. That's the most difficult part to debug. Now look, already they're doing something wrong, and if you criticize, what happens? They will justify their action. It's impossible. Try to do it with a 7-year-old kid. A 7-year-old kid also, the moment you say them that something is wrong, they will try to justify. Why? Because if you cannot say directly you're wrong, it's impossible. Then you say, Vijay, tell me one thing. If I cannot say they're wrong, then what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to agree everything? No, no, no. You're not going to agree everything. Idea is there's a way to do it. Only thing is, The way you're doing right now, if it is not working, then probably you're coming too harsh, you're coming too straightforward, it will not work. A lot of people say me, I'm a straightforward person. Stop being a straightforward person. What do you mean? Do I have to lie? No, no. No, you don't have to lie. Actually, what you have to do is you have to learn human principle. It's like, think upon it. If you do not know how to communicate with people, why would they listen to you? It's like computer programming, right? If you do not know the programming, I know a lot of people know self scripting. With self scripting, they're able to do a lot of things. It's like a computer's language has to be understood. If you don't understand their language, it will not work with you. Similarly, human beings have some emotional language. That means if you criticize, first they will become defensive, second, they will justify their action. You actually want to change them their action, and now they're justifying their action. That's another problem. Criticism rarely drives a lasting change. It will rarely, I mean, it will be extremely rare condition that a criticism will drive a change. In which condition it will drive a change, I'll tell you. When there's a threat of their job, assume the person is having a job insecurity. In that case, he can actually change. Otherwise, criticism, no matter what happens. And I don't think you want to always change people with that sword in your hand, that there's always a threat on your head. If for a threat people are changing, trust on me, this change will not last for long, because then they're doing it out of fear. The change has to come from within, and to bring that change from within, you have to connect with them properly. You have to give them feedback in such a way that they feel that this change is important. If you try to force them, if you try to condemn, you try to criticize, forget it, they will not change, they will become defensive. Second, they will try to defend their action, justify their action rather than changing, and the change will not last also. And the last one, empathy and understanding will yield you better result than anything else. So let's go. And what is side effect? I've already told you. The side effect of this, if you don't follow this principle properly, you'll have a damaged relationship. Your relationship, whether it is office, whether it is a personal life, whether it is a parenting, whether it is a marriage, everywhere relationship will damage because criticism will not help you. Second, your morale will fall down. The team morale will fall down. Imagine you're a manager, there are 10 to 15 people team, you criticize them. I remember in one of the organizations I was working, there was a very straightforward, direct personality manager, and it was a very big organization, I'll not name it right now. And I remember it was a meeting of around, we had 20 people. It was a regular weekly meeting. And there was this gentleman. He prepared a Excel sheet with all the data, all the graphs. He came up in the meeting and he wanted to share the meeting. I remember in just 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes, the manager was so angry. I don't know what happened to her. Something was wrong with her on that day. God knows what happened. But see, up front, stop this. He said, what nonsense you're saying on this website? It's totally nonsense. You don't waste my time. Come up with a point. And now this guy is not able to understand what to do now further. She would have asked it very politely also, but I don't know, she had a bad day or something. But the outcome of that was this person became so demotivated, he lost interest in this. And I remember in the next 3 months, he was able to, he changed his job itself directly. Why? That one feedback directly coming in front of the team of 20 people, he felt disrespected. Now, was the manager right too? I can tell you, practically he was right. It was not wrong because the data may not have some connection. The manager was in one line. Manager was trying to ask only one question: don't show me this data. Connect this data with the output so that I can understand why this data is important. Was he asking wrong thing? No. But the manner in which he asked, that was wrong. He just criticized this data is baseless, it is bullshit, don't waste my time, come up with this data score relationship. Now, what is the right way to frame? I can see a lot of effort has been put, and as you know, we have limited time. Can you show me what is the final gist of it? If you would have asked in this manner, probably the person would have been more excited to come. It may be possible that you could have gone to slide number 17 to show the entire data, and that's okay. But she somehow cut it upfront, and not only this much, she ended up blaming this person that you're wasting my time, and that too in front of 20 people. Imagine what would have happened, and that happens to a lot of people. Managers don't know that's a blind spot. So let's come to the first point. Criticism leads to defensiveness. So what happens? Criticism often makes feel people attacked. The moment you criticize somebody, their internal, it's like, think like this. Our country has a defense system. Imagine somebody from external world comes and try to capture your country. The enemy gets what do they do? They have border territory. Border soldiers are there to protect their land. Similarly, human beings' emotions are also protected by some layer. So the moment somebody comes and says, "You are wrong," immediately the soldiers wake up. Oh, who said? Who said I'm wrong? Immediately, it's not whether they're wrong or right, the secondary question. They may be wrong also. But the moment they hear this, the soldiers wake up. They take a gun and stand. Okay, who is there? Who is there? I'll shoot somebody. So this is the problem. So what happens in this case? As I gave an example already. The manager reprimands a team member in a meeting for missing a deadline, saying you have delayed the entire project again. The employee embarrassed in front of colleagues, responds by blaming unclear instruction. The criticism damage trust and create tensions, making the employee feel hesitant. And that's such a simple thing. So criticism led defensiveness. What happened? Outcome. What the outcome is the manager wanted, actually it did not came out. So it was a waste of time actually. Second point, people justify their action instead of blaming themselves, right? So first there was a wrong, and then people justify. How? Criticism pushes people to rationalize their action. That's very important thing. Actually, what you wanted is exactly opposite what is happening, preventing them from reflecting on their own mistakes. Take an example. During a performance review, a sales executive is told you are not meeting the targets because you are not trying hard enough. Now, in this sentence, what is happening? The moment you say you're not meeting your target, you're not no, you're not trying hard enough. What happens now? The person is defensive. He can prove you. And see, I have done hundreds of calls. I've done this. I've done that. What happened now? Nothing. There's a deadlock now. How many people will you fire? It's not possible. You cannot fire the whole team. There are people you have to learn how to work with them. That means what? It will not work that way. So feeling unfairly accused, the executive blame the market condition. You can say poor quality of lead is there. Now what will happen? It will like a keep throwing dirt on each other. Nothing will. There is no confusion happening. Why? Because it started with a blame game. It started with straight away that you are wrong. It doesn't help them. So criticism rarely creates lasting change. As I told you, right? Sometimes out of fear they may change, but that fear is temporary. The moment you are out, they will come to the natural behavior, or they will do something to make you. John Maxwell always says this: if you want to achieve greatness in your life, you cannot achieve without people wanting you to become successful. If I'm a director, let's say, and I have a team of 100 plus people which I'm working with, and my team member want me to fail, then I can assure you one thing for sure: they will do something or other to make me look bad, and eventually I will not be able to succeed further. Yes, I can succeed by pushing something or other, but in long run, it will be too stressful a life which is not worth living. In contrast, if my team want me to succeed, my journey will become interesting, it will become easy, and I can go far, far ahead in my career. Very big difference in between this. So it will not create a lasting change. Third one, empathy and understanding foster better result. Why? Because the moment you have empathize with people, automatically what will happen is people will start understanding. Okay, empathy means the other person just want to feel understood. The moment he feel understood, trust on me, you'll be surprised. Many times I've seen this. The moment you empathize with people, in 10 to 15 minutes, they themselves realize their mistake and they start working on the solution. Actually, nothing, there was no need to give feedback, there was nothing is required. The person automatically takes the responsibility of their own errors. That's exactly what you wanted. That's the power of empathy. Then what happens? On paper, now you'll say, "Yeah, everything is good. On paper, it looks good. But in reality, applying it is not easy. See, I can give you this 4 point, okay, empathize with people, you cannot say criticism. On paper, it looks so good. But in the real world, tomorrow, when you're going to work with a manager or you're going to work with a colleague, it will not be that easy. Why? Because inherently your anger will come in between because you have some deadlines to meet. So you cannot have empathy. So tomorrow your deadline is there, the person has done some wrong, let's say there's a spec error he has done. On paper you can say, yeah, I have to have patience, but now what you're thinking, you're already into stress. So what happens is it's simple, but it is not easy. Remember this. So when I'm saying this, it may look very simple, but don't say it is easy. It is very difficult to apply. Application is the difficult part. So what are struggles you'll face? I'll tell you. So I was just when I was customizing thinking, what are struggles you'll face? Struggles are there. I found four simple struggles you'll face. Number one, reacting impulsively. It's a natural thing. All of us have. Why? Because as I told, right, your team member has done some technical error, and you know you have a deadline tomorrow. You have 48 hours left to complete this work. And now you know, shit, man, who will take care of my whole night? So you are immediately your impulsiveness will come into picture, correct or not? You're a human being, it will come naturally. And once you do it, then what happens? The person say, man, he doesn't understand. I did just a small mistake and he doesn't understand. Now understand, everybody have a justification reason. He'll say, man, it was just a small mistake. It could be corrected in 5 minutes. Why to make such a halla gulla? See? Who is wrong here? Nobody is wrong. So situation like this, there's so much of pressure. But what you say, your words cannot come back. That's a problem. That means it's not easy to do. So that's the first problem you will face. Your impulsiveness will come. Second, we all have habits. So today I gave you this idea, okay, we don't have to do. But what is the habit? Just try it out. Trust me, I am failing in this. Whenever I say, don't criticize anybody for 7 days, trust on me, you will get frustrated. I'm not joking. Trust on me. We all have this tendency to criticize somebody other. It is impossible. If I check it myself with all this positivity, to be very honest, at least 7 to 8 times internally I will be criticizing somebody. 7 to 8 times in a day. I can tell you with honesty, utmost honesty. And those who don't know this subject, they do at least 70 to 80 times per day. Big difference. So what I'm trying to say is this: it is not easy to apply. We will internally have this habit. So these habits are not easy to break. Third, there's a balancing of feedback. Another thing is balancing feedback. There's a deadline pressure. You have to give feedback, and the balancing will be difficult part. And the last one is patience. Patience, 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 and patience. Always remember this. If you work with people, there's one thing which you remember is patience. If you don't have patience, you cannot work with people. Now, patience is not God gifted. Nobody is gifted to check it out. No child will ever be quiet. They will always get angry. So we keep on growing. Patience will not come naturally. Patience is something which you have to practice. In some areas you can have, some area you may not have. So first check it out. Which all areas are important for you, where you need patience, be intentional, be focused that I need to do patience. So these are the struggles you'll face. So now let's go step by step how to implement this. So I'll give four simple ideas to do it. You know you'll be this is the first thing, reacting impulsively. So what is the best way to stop? Pause before reacting. Take 10 second or 20-second pause. Take it. You'll be surprised. So in many times I've done in my professional world, in my coaching industry, sometimes some client says something, so I just pause for some time. And I'm surprised that pause is so powerful. You pause for 15 seconds, 30 seconds, your brain will compose. I'll tell you the reason behind this pause. It's again a detailed topic which you cover in emotional intelligence. There's a left brain, right brain. A lot of people say different terms. So what happens? Your brain, the way it is designed, we all have a protection circuit around us. It's like think like a security guard is around your house. Let's say you're sleeping and suddenly you see a snake. That time do you have time to think? Your brain will suddenly take all the energy and will try to protect you and will try to jump and find some way out. So that source is actually connected in such a way that in scientific term it is known as amygdala and neocortex. So the signal first goes to amygdala. And amygdala is a pure protection circuit and it gets turned on anytime you feel threatened. That's simple. And after 10-15 seconds or 1 minute maximum, the signal goes from amygdala to neocortex. And that's where you'll realize that after some time you feel, was it worth to talk like this? Was it worth to give the feedback? Have you felt it or not? If you felt, put in the comment section, yes, I felt it like that many times. After giving the feedback, you said, I should not have done it. I should not have done it. But the question is, why you did it? Reason is, that point in time, your brain got hijacked. But if you take a tendency to pause for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, it will be very difficult. You will feel like these 30 seconds are almost a day. Trust me, that 30 seconds are very difficult. But if you can do that, what will happen, I'll tell you. Your signal will go from amygdala to neocortex. And once it reaches to neocortex, what will happen is now your logical mind will get activated. And once logical mind get activated, you'll start realizing it will not work anyways. Why should I speak anything? It's not worth speaking. It's not worth giving feedback. You will be quiet. And then you'll be quiet. I mean, it's very easy. Only challenge is if you can somehow stop your amygdala to do the work, you will actually do no errors. But the problem is many times we are not even aware. So first thing first, from today onwards, at least now you know this subject, try to practice. Before you speak, just have 30-second pause. And the moment your signal goes to logical mind, you start asking, is it worth speaking? Even if the person is wrong, what will happen? I'll speak, he will not listen. So why to waste my time? Why to make unnecessary animosity in life? Let it be there. Let me find some workaround. Trust on me. You will stop doing 90% errors. Just this one habit. Pause for before reacting. This is the first thing I'll tell you. Second thing, ask question instead of accusing. Now I'll give some examples also. When you start asking questions from people rather than accusing. So let's say somebody delayed the project rather than saying you are always delaying. I can ask question. Is everything fine? Let's understand what this. I see the schedule is delayed. Can you tell me what happened exactly? What was the real matter? What are the things you are doing? All these things. I'll tell you exact some questions also. And by the way, if you want this slide which I've created, reshare it to your network so that other people can reach out to this subject, and I can send you DM me that I have reshared. I want that PPT, and I'll send it to you. And third one is acknowledge the positive intentions. If you can do this, it will be very easy for you to apply. And the final is practice empathy. Now let's go step by step how to apply each of this. Pause before reacting. I've already given examples of pausing before reacting, so we'll skip this step right now. Second thing, asking questions. Let me give you a couple of examples of how to ask this question. In question asking, one thing you remove from today onwards, delete this word from your entire dictionary. It will save you a lot of energy. Stop asking people, why did you do it? You'll say, what? Trust on me. This is the most negative question on the earth. Why? You'll say, why? Reason I'll tell you. The moment you ask somebody, why did you do it? What are you doing actually? You are actually activating their defensive mechanism. Why question always make them defensive? Why relate? Think. Ask somebody, why relate? What happens now? Now you have to justify. So you are unnecessary activating the defensive cells. And you activate the defensive cell, you will never know the truth. So stop asking this question. So what is the open-ended question? Let's give an example. A manager notices a team member repeatedly missing deadline. This is a situation. So what happened? Instead of saying, why can't you ever meet deadline? See, why question is replaced now, and they start asking the what question. What has been holding you back in meeting deadlines? What's going wrong? What's missing here? I can see you, and the fourth step which I said, acknowledge the positive. I can see you're putting a lot of hard work, but then I see in the end we are missing the deadline. What's is there something which is holding you? Is there something which you are not having? Is there some information which is lacking? See, The moment you remove this why question, so from today onwards, start practicing this. Remove the why question and start asking what question. Very interesting. I can tell you it's very interesting one. Whichever question you're asking, why are you doing it? Start asking what is missing, what is stopping you to do this, what is the difficulty part in this. See this. The moment you ask what question, you are actually activating the logical mind, and rather than becoming defensive, they start answering your question. Trust on me. Just after applying, let me know what is the difference. And if you're already applying it, put in the comment section what's the difference you find in these two questions. Second, now, this approach uncovers the challenges like unclear instructions and resource gaps. This is very, very powerful thing. The moment you ask this question, you will be surprised that people start listening to you. Third one, acknowledge the positive intentions. Now, what do you mean by that? Yes, they have done some errors, but do you think they have not done anything great in this life? I mean, do you think the entire project they have done nothing? So, what is the first thing you should do? Start identify what they have good, done the good. At least they'll be open to listen. Problem we all do is we do not start with good things. We only start straight away. You're doing this, you're doing that wrong, and the person's defensive mechanism starts. And when the defensive mechanism is on, that person will not listen to you. It's not a question of who is right, who is wrong. So when you talk, make sure the defensive mechanism is not turned on somehow. That's very, very important. So how do you do it? Let's take an example. A marketing director reviews a campaign proposal that misses key elements. Okay. Now rather than criticizing, he said, "You have put great effort into this proposal." See, start with the positivity because there has been effort. If somebody has put a 30 slide, 30 slides you have created, obviously there was effort involved. So first start with this. You have put a great effort into it, and your creativity signs. The moment you did this, what happens? The person at least start thinking, okay, my work is at least visible. Then I can add, let's add some aspect to align it. So I think something, if you can do it, some few more slides if you can add, or some this input if you can add, I think it can create more better, significant, more impact in your presentation. Do you think you will listen? Yes. And rather than doing this, start like this. Hey, come on, this is not interesting. This doesn't look good. What happens now? His defensive mechanism gets on. He's not going to listen. Now his ego will not allow to change the slides also. Trust on me. It will go like that. So rather than doing this, you start with some positive intent. Start with it, then your slide looks good. I can see you have done a lot of effort. But I think if we can add a couple of things or we can change this, it can actually change the results. The person is open. Why? He first recognizes that somebody is able to see the good thing, and then he has added the value. The person is open to listen. Very, very important. And the last point, practice active empathy. Now, this is subject in itself. I have covered a little bit about it, and that's something which you have to do. So this is what I wanted to cover, and then I have given, as I said, knowledge is not enough. In today's world, knowledge is there. So it's not a knowledge question. Question is, will you apply? And that's why one-to-one coaching comes into picture. And in one-to-one coaching, you learn a lot of things. So if you're in a phase of life where you're not happy with the outcomes of your career, you're not happy with the growth which you're getting, or you're struggling with the people in your team manager, then I can tell you one thing. Make a goal. This one thing I think John Maxwell told in one of his coaching classes or something. I remember. I don't remember. It's 2008. Somebody told, either Brian Tracy or John Maxwell. Somebody told me that if you consistently invest 10% of your income on your personal growth, it will compound and give you the highest return on anything else in your world. And this line took such a deep impact in my life. You know what I did? From that time onwards, I had been consistently investing 10, 20, 30% of my income. Why I'm saying 10, 20, 30? Initially, when my income was less, that's the biggest mistake a lot of people do. When income is less, you have to invest more. Why? Why is your income less? Because you don't have those capabilities. You cannot get it automatically. So I remember when my initial package was less, I used to invest 30% of my income on my personal growth. If sometimes you get a chance to come to my house is filled with that point of DVDs, cassettes, webinars, seminars. I used to be part of all those things, and I used to invest 30% of my income. And slowly, my income started increasing. Obviously, the 30% became 20%, then slowly it became 10%. But it never goes that from 2008, today we're talking 2025. It is almost 17 years, and I've been consistently investing on my personal growth, and it has impacted me deeply. So, if you want to grow in your career, one thing I can tell you, there's no free lunch. Okay, your only free lunch was as long as your father was funding you for your education or your mom was funding you for the education. After that, if you do not take personal responsibility of your growth, you cannot grow. Now, yes, today's world YouTube is there. The problem with the entire YouTube and all this is that this fragmented knowledge. Few things you can get here and there, but the problem today is, as I told you, right, knowledge is not the problem. You search on any topic, YouTube, Google, you can get the knowledge. The problem is, despite having all the knowledges, why are you not able to apply? Because accountability is missing, because feedback loop is missing. Imagine you learn something from the YouTube, and how do you know whether you are applying it rightly or not? There's nobody to give feedback. In fact, I remember in my initial days of coaching career, I used to do group coaching, where used to 100, 200 people used to come in my webinars and all. Then I realized actually it is not helping a lot of people. They are getting motivated for some time, but I don't see their action. Then I started doing group sessions of 40, 50 people. There also I realized Economically, it's a good decision because for 50 people, I can get good money. But then I realize 70% to 80% people do not open up in the group. They stay quiet because inherently they are shy personalities. They don't want to open up. They don't want to talk their real challenge, what is happening in their life, in their job. They don't share their idea. And once they don't share their life, what happens now? There's problem not solved. Then I said, forget about all this thing. From last few years, I've been only doing one-on-one coaching. I believe let me take limited people with whom I can work, with whom we can go to the next level where they can transition can happen, the breakthrough can happen, and that's what I started doing. So if you're in the phase of life where you really want to get that breakthrough to the success, then this is the right time. Drop me a message. Let's see if we can work together and I can help you out. And but I'll give you some assignment before you wind up. So those assignments I've created for you, some practice exercise, and this entire PPT I can share it to you, share it, reshare it in your timeline, and let me know with a DM. This is the exercise I'll give you. First, take some daily reflection. Again, I told you this exercise I can give you, but do you think you'll be able to do it? That is something you have to ask yourself. If you can do it, congratulations. If not, then I'll tell you you need a one-on-one coaching where you can work with somebody to help you out. That's very, very important. First exercise I'll give you, have a daily reflection. Write down where have you avoided criticism and describe the outcomes. First, see where are you avoiding. And if you have done some criticism, write down, okay, I criticized today three people. And what are the outcomes? Start doing it. Because first, there's always a saying, before you cure a problem, identify the problem. So when you start reflecting, you'll know what is the problem. That's step number one. Second exercise, do empathy journal of empathy. See, are you empathizing? Write a paragraph, and from today on, start thinking from no matter how much you hate the person, make it a habit that go to the other person's side of the story and think why this person is behaving the way he's behaving. Is there something which I'm not aware? Start asking this question to yourself. Is there something I'm not aware? Is he going through some struggles? Is he having technical knowledge problem? Why would he behave like this? He seems to be a good gentleman. Why would he not do it? Start asking this question. What happens immediately? I'll tell you. Your framework is changing. Your anger is suddenly diminishing from X to zero point 0.1x straight away. The moment you start asking this question, why would a gentleman like this behave like this? What is the reason? Is there something which I'm not aware? Is he is he having some information which needs some changes? Is he lacking some resources? See, these questions which you ask, what happens? How can you be angry after this question? You will not. So this is another journal you should have to do. Third one, criticism reframe exercise. So from today onwards, rewrite the criticism as a constructive feedback. That's something which you have to practice. Reframing a criticism to a constructive feedback is something which is very difficult to learn, and that's something you need to practice again. And in one-to-one coaching session, we do it because I work with people and they say this is what should do. We sit together and customize certain lines and scripts so that this person can use, and it works like magic. So this is third example I'll give. Last one, role playing. And obviously in role playing now, coaching session will do a lot of role playing. And in role playing, that clarity comes in picture. So I'm sure today's session you'll learn a lot of things. Now in the comment section, if you are there for the whole session and all, in the comment section, add three things which you take away from this today's call. What are three things you took away? And one thing which you're going to apply for this coming week for sure. I mean, I'm not expecting for the whole month and all. That's personal choice. But at least for 1 week, for today, what you have learned, one thing which you're going to apply and reset it to your timeline. And if you want this PPT, share me and DM me that I've reset in my timeline and I'll send you the PPT. It was great talking to you. And next Thursday, we'll meet up again the same time with another topic. Until then, bye bye.